Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, I am filming in front of my bookshelves, which is very exciting. I finally have them up and I am planning on sharing a full bookshelf tour with you soon, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on what's been happening in my reading life, because I feel like I've updated you a lot on what's going on in my non-reading life, but I haven't really talked about what's been happening with reading. So I just wanted to talk to you about what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, and give you guys a brief little book haul of things that I've gotten lately and just kind of update you. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first topic of discussion is what I've been reading. And I really have not been reading much. I've mentioned it a few times here and there that I really have not been reading recently. And it's gotten to the point where it hasn't just been recently, it's been for honestly since like November, which is really hard, both because it's personally very difficult to identify as a reader when you're not reading anything and when you don't want to read anything. And otherwise, it's hard because I can't really make content for you. I don't feel right about putting out content if I'm not actively reading something to actually share with you. I don't want to just post nonsense and not be sharing my actual reading with you. So I haven't been reading very much at all. Part of that, I think, has to do with the fact that my books were inaccessible to me, and it was less so that I didn't have books that I could read, but it was more so that I felt weird about reading when I didn't have all of my books up. I think I was a bit sad and frustrated that my books were in boxes for so long. So I feel like that contributed to a bit of a reading slump. But all that being said, now that my books are on the shelves, I'm really hoping that that will inspire me to read more and get back on track. For my Goodreads challenge this year, I decided to set it for 50 books instead of 100 as I have been doing. Last year, I could not reach the 100 mark. I read 52 books, I think, and I had to lower that goal amount just so that I felt okay about it. But this year, I'm just setting myself up for a more successful year, I think, by giving myself half of my normal challenge and some time to kind of get back on my feet and get back into reading and making content and all of that. So this year so far, I have only completed 2 books. Now that's not to say that I haven't read other things, but I haven't completed other books yet. So what I did read and complete was a reread of Winter Turning by 2 Sutherland, which is book 7 in the Wings of Fire series. And I also reread Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn for a paper that I was helping my fiance with. But it's kind of interesting that it ended up being 2 rereads that I completed. I did end up DNFing one book, and it is kind of a soft DNF. I don't know if I'll ever come back to it, honestly, but it is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I started this at the very beginning of the year and I just struggled so much to get through it. I found it really tedious to get through. It's a very long book, which you know I'm not very good at dealing with. The font is really tiny, and I wasn't able to find this on audiobook anywhere in English for some reason. So I was not able to do the reading method that I originally wanted to, which was audio, because I find with books that are really long or the font is not very good and I struggle to physically read it, I can listen to it on audio. I think Margaret Atwood's writing style is so beautiful, and I loved the actual diction and the lyrical nature of a lot of her sentences. I think all of that is really interesting and cool, but I just really struggled with the plot and the way it was moving, and it just wasn't something that I felt connected to. So this probably majorly contributed to the January reading slump situation, and I haven't really touched it since early February, so I kind of soft DNF'd this. As for what I'm currently in the middle of, I am in the middle of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe. I've been in the middle of this since probably November or December. I just read one of the stories and then never picked it up again. It's not that I didn't like it, but again, reading slump things. But now my best friend and I are buddy reading this because she read the first one and then immediately jumped into the second one. And since I'm partway through it, I said I would kind of read it along with her. So that's the plan for that one. I'm hoping I can audiobook this as well, just so that I can get through it and get it done, because it is taking quite a long time to get back to this one. Another one that I've been reading for quite a while, but I really am enjoying, is Craft Coffee by Jessica Eastoe. This is a nonfiction book about specialty coffee, or craft coffee as they call it, and a bunch of different things about it. So this is super nerdy and informational, but as a barista and somebody who's really interested in specialty coffee, this is a wealth of knowledge and a really great resource. So I'm very much enjoying getting my way through this. And then finally, I am currently reading Cults: Inside the World's Most Notorious Groups and Understanding the People Who Join Them by Max Cutler with Kevin Conley. That's a lot of words. This was originally a podcast that was turned into this nonfiction work. It is a very big book as well, and I have actually been audiobooking this because yesterday I took a really lovely trip to Onyx Coffee Lab in Arkansas, and it's a bit of a drive, so I got the audiobook and I was able to get through like 40% of this book on that drive, which was really nice. And it's pretty creepy, obviously, because it's talking about like Jonestown and a bunch of other like really scary cults. But I really am interested in that stuff, so I found this super intriguing, and I'm excited to finish it. Okay, so finally, I just want to talk briefly about a couple of books that I have acquired recently. And these are books that throughout my travels, before I had unpacked my books, I had acquired from various bookstores since I've been kind of all over the place recently. So the first one I did mention in a recent video, and that is Eat a Peach, a memoir by David Chang. David Chang is a really well-known and renowned chef. And this is just him talking about his life and how he got to the point where he opened the restaurant Momofuku. And it just talks about all of that. So as I've mentioned before, I'm really interested in books about people in the culinary field, so I'm excited to give this memoir a read soon. Next up, I have a book that literally everybody else has read, and it is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. So I found this at a bookstore back in New York, and I had a lot of store credit there, and I wanted to use up my store credit before I moved. So I ended up picking this one up just because I know so many people love it, and I've heard the writing is absolutely gorgeous. This one, if you don't know, is about a man who is writing letters to his mother who can't read. And it's talking, I think, about his childhood and the experience of being an immigrant. I'm planning on reading this one eventually. Don't know when I'm gonna get to it, but it is one that I've picked up recently. All right, another one that I picked up recently was Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Coppersmith, something like that. This one I think has a dual timeline, and the first timeline is about a daughter who loses her way in an abandoned rubber plantation while fleeing her angry father and is forever changed. That's what the back says. And the other timeline is a Vietnamese American woman who disappears from her home without a trace. So both of them are Vietnamese women in slightly different time periods, and I believe the story kind of links together ultimately, so I'm excited to read this one soon. And then I have a short story collection. This is Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. This is a standard kind of short story collection where there's gonna be a central theme, but I don't really have access to that information yet because the back is very sporadic about how it explains the book. So there's just a bunch of kind of weird, interesting short stories in here, and I have to sort out the primary themes. So that's this one. I never know what to say about short story collections. I feel like it's so hard to talk about them if you haven't read them. The penultimate book that I have to share with you is The Novelist by Jordan Castro. This I'm really intrigued by. This is about a man who is trying to write an autobiographical novel, and it follows him over the course of one afternoon. So obviously it's a very short book. Maybe it's stream of consciousness, I'm not sure, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting anyway. The text is really large and the book is really short, so So this should be a very fast read, and I'm very, very intrigued by this. And then finally, I have Ghost Music by Anne Yu. So I really picked this book up because of the cover. So my understanding of this book is it literally is about a woman who gets mushrooms delivered to her mysteriously and decides to use them and cook them, etc. And it gets really surreal. So I'm fascinated by this. I think it's gonna be really, really interesting and amazing. And I'm interested in all things mushroom related, not the psychedelic kind, but I think this is gonna kind of lean into the psychedelic adjacent situation and push us towards the surreal. So I am so, so excited about this. This is definitely a very soon read for me. So those are the books that I have purchased recently, and by recently I mean since October. But yeah, I'm hoping that through having my books up and being able to share things with you again and film and do all of that, I will actually get back to reading more regularly and posting more regularly. So thank you so much for being understanding throughout all of the chaos that's been happening and my lack of posting and just being around online. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for supporting me through all of that. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.